Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried and Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Hey everyone, this is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Welcome to the You're OK Mental Fitness Studio. I would like to thank our sponsors, Ned Siegfried, Luke Peterson, and Todd Bradford with Siegfried and Jensen, Mark Richards with Wasatch Recovery, Colby and Mackenzie with Thread Wallets, Drew Peterson with First Digital, Greg Jackson with Mountain West Spine and Orthopedics, and Travis Whitaker, the owner of Living Recovery Interventions. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to Paul Cardall. The music that you hear at the beginning and the ending of these episodes is by Paul Cardall. He's an amazing person, and he's been one of my heroes for years. So thanks to all my sponsors and Paul Cardall for believing in me. I love you guys so much. Please enjoy this next episode. You guys have been so fantastic. Your support and how you share these episodes, especially with those that you feel like that are struggling, that you love so much, it kind of breaks the ice. And I get all kinds of comments on how that's really helped families come together, get people help that need help. And so I just can't thank you guys enough. I just gave a shout out previous to our sponsors. I love you guys. And, I think the reason why this has been so successful is because I don't make it about me. Because it's not about me. It's about my amazing guests. And today you guys are going to be blown away because I can't even believe I'm sitting across from this guy, Martin Frey. Thank you for joining us, Martin.
Pleasure to be here.
And if you guys don't know who he is, most of you probably do. He's a world record holder, adventurer, public speaker, thinker, investor, humanitarian. He's the first person to climb 7 summits and sail the 7 seas. Now we say that and you probably go, oh, cool. Man, if you really understood what that actually means, it would blow your mind that he actually was able to accomplish this. And so we're going to get into that. Martin's just a great guy. He has a big heart. He wants to help people. We're hopefully going to team up here at Wasatch Recovery with him and the things that he does to help people, break out of their slumps and actually live their own adventure. And it's just going to be a credible time with him today. So I'm so excited. Martin, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's just a joy to be with you this morning, Todd, and I look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. So why don't we start, before we get into that part, is just give us a little background of your childhood and where you grew up.
I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay.
Kind of a normal little family, and but I had an opportunity to be challenged by my dad in some ways to try to go out and try new things and explore. And yeah. I think we had a lot of freedom back then, much more than a lot of kids today.
Yeah.
And so, it's like come home from school, take off, and mom would ring the dinner bell when it was time to come in to eat, So very unstructured, but that gave me a chance to explore my boundaries and what I was capable of in new ways. One of the first adventures I remember was climbing the tree in my backyard.
I wanted to talk about that, yes.
And this whole idea of I couldn't even reach the lowest branch initially, and my buddy Teddy had to give me a boost up. And as a result, we'd hang there because we couldn't even pull ourselves up. Finally, we got a leg over the limb, and it would sit on the lowest branch. And then we got the courage to climb the tree. And one day it was really windy, and I'm up there and I'm kind of holding on, and the branches are all moving, and I'm kind of scared. So I wedged my foot in the fork of the tree to get another secure point. And all of a sudden I realized I couldn't get my foot unstuck.
Oh no.
And so I'm caught. No one is there to help me, and I had to figure out how to solve my problem. And so then I reached down with one hand and untied my shoe, pulled my foot out, and then wiggled my sneaker free. Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling so nervous because I was letting go with one hand to do that.
Right.
And I think that experience taught me that I could trust my grip over my fear of falling.
Okay.
And so as a young boy, I all of a sudden learned that, yes, we can indeed build that confidence and start that, and that adventure experiences bring that into our lives.
Wow. And to think what that led to in your life, at the time, not knowing where
Right.
that was going to go. But it's interesting how things that we go through as children, how that can lead to other things in our lives. And we don't see it at the time, but then you look back and go, that's where the adventure for you kind of started, right?
Absolutely. There's no question. That's like the first big adventure.
Well, I think, me just sitting here with you and just knowing what you've done in your life, have you always been this confident, kind of strong-willed, determined person? Were you like that as a child as well?
No. We were all insecure and not knowing, what to make of things. But I was curious,
Okay.
and I was, back then we started with boredom. And
Yeah.
then we got creative, like, let's go build a fort or let's go do something. And so we'd come up with these wild and crazy ideas of stuff to explore and do. And that sort of play into adventure, becoming more complex play. And I really thrived when I would challenge myself to climb, or I learned to sail at summer camp, and that took me to buy a sailboat. And then all of a sudden at 13 I'm learning to sail out by myself in the ocean.
Wow.
All of that was very expanding of my sense of self and what I could do.
13's pretty young to be buying a sailboat.
Yeah,
right?
It is. And I don't know why my parents let me have the freedom to go take it where I felt like I wanted to go. And so that was like, that no boundaries, free range parenting or whatever. But that allowed me then to constantly begin a process of looking for bigger and broader challenges and finding where the limits were.
Right. Wow. Well, there is so much we could talk about. We could probably do this 3 or 4 times, these podcasts with you. But what I'd like to maybe just jump ahead to, you just did an amazing TED Talk down in St. George, Utah. It was phenomenal. I mean, just heart-wrenching. I teared up a few times as you were sharing your story and just what you've been through. So how did an adventure in your life change the course of your life? And let's just go from there.
Denali in Alaska is the tallest mountain in North America, and it's over 20,000 feet, and it's actually colder than Everest. And so that experience, everything before Denali was like a glorified hike. It wasn't, this was a first full-on mountain expedition I'd ever done. And my buddy Steve and I took this on with a kind of a naive sense of what we could do and what this was all about.
Yeah.
And we were completely out of our comfort zone. And so I think the reason I love Denali in my whole adventure experience is because it stretched me the furthest. As we got up the mountain, we're hauling a 60-pound pack and a 50-pound sled behind us, and we're going up to 14,000 feet, and all these more experienced and stronger guys were starting to drop out, and I couldn't understand I'm still going, and they can't hack it. And I really was amazed by that. And then at 16,000 feet, we were the last ones there, just Steve and I. And then at 17,000 feet, he gets altitude sickness, and we hunker down in a tent to try to take care of him. And the storm had just continued to build, and we were stuck there for 6 days. So all this is going on, and we couldn't. I have to manage Steve, who's throwing up and won't get out of his sleeping bag, and then I'm managing our situation with food, and then kind of getting us all squared away. So there was a tremendous amount of uncertainty, and learning how to manage through that uncertainty, keep my wits about me, keep myself from going, a little off the wall.
Right.
And then putting it all together and finally summiting was a big challenge for me.
I mean, I can't imagine being stuck in that situation for 6 days.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 day is too long.
Right.
I mean, did you ever have I mean, this is probably maybe a kind of a dumb question, but was there like a sense of panic? Did that ever come into like, oh boy, we're in trouble kind of thing?
You definitely feel that things are not good, right? But as that panic starts to grow inside you, you have to learn how to manage it and to conquer that fear.
Yeah.
Alex Honnold, the guy who did free solo and climbed El Capitan, without a rope, he gave some great advice. He said, we manage fear the way we manage hunger, in the sense that we acknowledge it's there, but we say, hey, I'm going to wait till dinner time to eat, and I'm going to do my thing. And as a result, we put fear in a box, and we try to place it off on the side and not let it get out of the box. Yeah. We say, all right, I feel fear. It's okay to have that.
Sure.
But we then say, all right, we're going to create this little alliance. You stay over in that box. I get to do my thing. Yeah. And then we press forward.
Wow. Yeah. What an amazing thing. And so you were hiking this and summiting this with a really good friend. Is it Steve?
Steve Gasser. Yeah. That's exactly right.
And he was obviously very pivotal as you moved forward and deciding to do other things. Do you mind sharing what happened with that?
In fact, the Steve had and struggled with cerebral edema on the mountain, and then 2.5 months later, he died at age 46 of an aneurysm. Okay. And so, in honor of Steve, I decided to take on the challenge that we had talked about in that tent on Denali of maybe one day doing the 7 summits. And so, in honor of him, I set off to climb the 7 summits, the tallest mountain on each continent.
That is amazing. And didn't you place at the top of Everest a picture of Steve?
I did. I took Steve's picture with me on every climb, and we had our little moment together on each summit. Yeah. And really cherished the friendship and his support in helping me get there. Yeah.
You mentioned there was 4 things you learned that when you were on, the Denali experience. Do you mind sharing those? I mean, here's what I pulled out of it, if that's okay. Self-efficacy, a belief in you, determination, resilience, and an adventure mindset. Do you mind talking about that and how you kind of came to that, and then why is that so important, not just for you as a guy that loves to summit everything, but for an average Joe like myself who maybe is not going to be doing that kind of stuff?
So one of the reasons and why adventure matters, and I think many people in life have been more entertainment focused rather than real adventure, dealing with risk and uncertainty. But as they take on those challenging opportunities for personal growth, what happens is we start getting outcomes. The first one is self-efficacy, this belief in our own capability that we can do hard things and we can achieve our outcomes in life. Yeah. Number 2 is this idea of self-determination. So self-efficacy is a belief in yourself. Okay. Self-determination is a skill set. It's how do I figure out how to get it done. Yeah. It includes the problem solving, gathering the resources, having all the things in place, and mitigating risk so that you're more likely to achieve your goal. Okay. Resilience is obviously what happens when it goes wrong, and drawing on this inner strength to re-engineer the situation in a way that you can overcome that obstacle or get around it. And if you do fail completely, are you defeated? Right. Or are you going to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and get back in the arena? Okay. And then my favorite is really this adventure mindset, this willingness to embrace challenging opportunities for personal growth. This, I can do it, I want to do it, and I will do it. This can do, want to, will do mindset. Yeah. And people, as they embrace adventure and have more successful validation points in their life that they can do hard things, then sort of incorporate that mindset into their life, and it applies to everything they're trying to do. Can do, want to, will do.
Man, I love that. What a beautiful mindset that we all need to have, right? No matter what we might be doing, right?
That's right.
You know, this is nothing compared to what you've done, but I did 2 years ago, I did the Spartan race for the first time.
Love it.
Okay. And the single hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and I'm not kidding you, when I crossed the finish line, I started to cry.
Yeah.
Because it was that feeling of, I did it.
Yeah.
Because there was times as I was up there summiting the mountain, I was like, what am I doing? Can I do this? There was times where I don't know if I'm going to make it.
That's
that
right.
kind of thing, right? And it's just kind of pushing through that kind of thing.
That's right. And we all have to test ourselves to move into those new reservoirs of strength that we don't always know we have in our everyday life. And adventure, whether it's a Spartan race, climbing a mountain, or being an entrepreneur and starting a business, any of those kinds of challenges, even overcoming some of the invisible mountains inside us, the behavioral challenges or the addictions or whatever, the trauma, emotional trauma that we may have to overcome, all of those become key validation points in the real potential of who we have and our unlimited opportunity to grow and build ourselves into new people.
Yeah. I know you're one, Martin, that believes that if we put our mind to it, we can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, look what you've done. But I mean, how does someone who maybe is struggling and their mindset is not anywhere near that? How do you help someone get to that point, or to be able to kind of see that it's possible for them to maybe even do some of the things you've done?
The first thing I think that is to help them understand that their body can do it if their mind can.
Okay.
And so that this is a mental game.
Okay.
And that it's about bringing the mental and emotional fortitude to the game in a way that then aligns your energy to achieve your goal in life. When we get frustrated, when we feel defeated, or we feel unable to conquer our challenge, we lose that energy and the ability to harness that power. Okay. And yet at the same time, starting small with little wins and then building them in a way that, hey, starts building that self-efficacy, that belief in your own capability. Yeah. And then figuring out the problem solving. How do I work through this? What's the most important environment for me to place myself in, so I'm not distracted, or I don't go back to old behaviors and habits? How do I effectively move forward when I do have a setback, and that drawing on that resilience? I have a great poem. When I was climbing Everest and really struggling, we were on the mountain for 51 days, and there were some emotional highs and some big emotional lows. We got up to Camp 3 at 25,000 feet. We'd work for days to get up there. And then all of a sudden this storm came in, 80-mile-an-hour winds, ripped out some of the tents, and we had to go all the way back to the bottom and start all over again. Oh, man. And I remember getting there and being so defeated. And I was physically and emotionally spent. I had nothing. And I remember calling my wife on the sat phone and saying, "Honey, I'm done. I'm coming home. There's no way I can get back up this mountain." And she said, "Well, do you guys have to leave in the morning?" And I said, "No, we're going to take a day off." And she said, "Great." I go, "What do you mean, great?" And I said, "Well, then you don't have to make a decision tonight on what you're going to do." Right. And I remember that night in my tent, and I watched Finding Nemo on my iPad.
Really?
So there I am. I'm listening to the avalanches come off Nuptse, and I'm watching Finding Nemo, and there's Dory saying, "Just keep swimming." And I'm crying my eyes out, and I go, "Dory, I can't keep swimming. Okay, I got nothing." And the opportunity then to really think about, do I have anything left in me? And could I keep swimming if I was ever going to be have an inspirational role to play? I better start swimming. Wow. And so that helped me regroup and reset And then, fortunately, I was able to get back up to the summit.
Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine having to go back down. I probably would have said the same thing. I can't do this.
Yeah.
It took us forever to get to Camp 3. Why would I want to go do that again and try to then summit or whatever? Why did you pick Finding Nemo? Did you know, or did you just finding some random thing?
So we have a disabled daughter, and it's the one movie she keeps watching over and over again. So I've watched Finding Nemo like 500 times.
Yeah, you probably got it memorized.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, wow, that is an amazing thing. And isn't that cool how there's an answer to your issue in some of the most unlikely things?
That's right. It doesn't have to be complex.
Yeah.
What happens is it has to internalize and permeate our mental, perceived sense of what we need to know or do, and then all of a sudden it hits us in the heart.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden we can do it. I also have a poem that I memorized, and it's called Unsubdued. And it goes, I have hoped, I have planned, I have striven, to the will I've added my deed. The best that was in me I've given, and yet the gods would not heed. And then it goes on for a while, and then it ends, but name me not with the defeated, for tomorrow again I begin.
Whoa.
And so reciting that poetry that was inspiring to me to help constantly get me to find new reservoirs of strength to keep going, all of those were ways to help find new strength and endure to the end.
Wow. What a powerful poem. It's called
Unsubdued.
Unsubdued. Wow. I've never even heard that before.
I'll send it to you.
So yeah, please. And we can maybe even put a link to that on the show notes when we're done. But there's so much to talk about here. But you mentioned your daughter, is it Lily?
Lily.
Lily,
Yep.
so who's disabled. And is that part of what made you decide to start sailing the seven seas? Because wasn't it like hey, let's get her involved? Is that right?
It's absolutely. We were trying to think about what we could do as a family that still kind of met my need for adventure.
Right.
But we could bring a disabled daughter who is in a wheelchair. She can't walk or talk. She's on a feeding tube. All these limitations. And so we came up with the idea of sailing. Now, remember, I had bought that boat and learned to sail at camp as a young boy, and I hadn't sailed in 20, 30 years, and yet this idea was like, maybe we could do it. Yeah. And so the opportunity came up, and my wife and I tried out a couple of little sailing classes, and then I kind of turned to her and I say, what do you think, honey? Should we buy a boat and maybe sail the South Pacific? And we didn't know how Lily would do, and we started practice in the Caribbean, and then we headed out for a 9-month journey to sail from Panama or in the Caribbean through the Panama Canal to Australia, an island hop all through the South Pacific, and it turned out to be a wonderful experience.
I can't imagine. Was sailing the seas as challenging or as I look at it as scary? Was the seas as challenging and scary as some of these, like Mount Everest-ish, situations or Denali and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so sailing the South Pacific, you're in trade winds, it's manageable, you're downwind sailing, the family situation, we managed that. Yeah. We decided to leave Lily home, and I ended up circumnavigating and then took on the sailing down the coast of Antarctica and sailing through the Arctic. I became the 83rd boat to make it through the Northwest Passage, which is where you sail through the Bering Sea, up over Alaska, across Canada, and down the coast of Greenland. But surprisingly, the sailing from China to Seattle through the North Pacific was indeed harder than Everest.
Really?
And all these amounts.
Really?
When you're sailing and you're in a storm, you have to work the boat. When you're in a storm in a mountain, you hunker down in a tent.
That's true.
And so you're out on deck, you're seasick, and I hate being seasick.
Right.
And yet you still have to manage this boat and keep it going or you get in trouble. Yeah. And so all of that was quite a test. It's like living in a washing machine for 29 days and these 35-foot waves and 100-mile-an-hour winds and the one storm after another that we battled through to get across the Pacific Ocean.
Did you ever have a time where you thought you were going to maybe not make it and die, or
well,
did it feel that way?
There were people who died on Everest while I was there, on Denali while I was there, and even sailing across the Pacific there was one of the crew members died. So the challenge of that limit of, wow, this is close to that edge, is present. But I never felt like I was about to die. I think the scaredest I got was in a lightning storm off Madagascar as we sailed across the Indian Ocean, and there were lightning bolts hitting the water all around us, and we had a 94-foot, aluminum mast.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Like this lightning rod. This is,
come hit this.
Hit me. Yeah. Exactly. And so that was pretty tough. But fortunately, we made it through. And but that was where I probably had the most fear rising up within me.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Do you ever get scared? I mean, you seem like this, like, hey, you know what? We're just going to plow through this. But yeah, I mean, you're human.
Absolutely.
You get scared. You get nervous.
And again, it's that game of trying
to
create that alliance with that fear and stick it in a box so it doesn't overwhelm you and you can still function. And, but I think through adventure, my tolerance for uncertainty is probably larger now than maybe other people's, where they like predictability, they like the certainty and security that our normal world provides. But at the same time, I'm willing to go out on a limb, but that doesn't mean I feel like I'm in danger. It just means I'm more tolerant of the unknown, and that I can problem solve my way through many of those situations. And that's what we want to build within people as they try to navigate their life.
Wow. Well, you're in the Guinness World Records, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, which is amazing. You're the only guy that's ever done that, I think. Climbed all 7 summits and sailed all 7 seas.
That's right. And then you throw on other things like cross-country skiing to the North Pole and the South Pole. And, I've tended to try to be a trailblazer and pursue my passion.
Wow, you're amazing. Seriously, and you are proof that if we put our mind to anything, we can do it. We can truly get through anything, as scary or as hard as it can be. And when you make up your mind, you still get challenged. Like the lightning storm, you're like going, boy, hope we don't get hit kind of thing. And so I know this is a big question because you've already said some things, but what are some of the biggest lessons you learned about you? Obviously, you learned that you can do anything you set your mind to, but are there other lessons that you learned that just kind of stand out through that whole process of doing all those?
I think maybe the most important lesson is not that I can do anything, but that each adventure expands my sense of self and what I'm personally capable of. And so this adventure mindset that I've approached or learned from adventure really does apply to so many different areas of my life. And as I've taken on different challenges that I feel they're a mountain in and of themselves, and that we can grow into things. We don't start out with the competency to sail across an ocean.
Right, yeah.
But I had to believe I could do it before I bought the boat.
Yes.
Or it wouldn't have made sense.
Wouldn't have made sense.
So you do go forward with faith, but then self-efficacy is this validation of that faith in a way that then permeates your life and goes forward. And that confidence and self-assurance comes after the fact. So you sort of prove it to yourself again and again and again. And that's why adventure, unlike entertainment, is so rewarding for us personally.
Yeah.
Because we face the challenge, we conquer the demon, we kill the dragon, or whatever it happens to be, and we achieve that summit. And then we think, wow, if I did that, what does that really say about who I am and my own identity?
Yeah.
And could I climb that next mountain that's maybe a little bigger, a little steeper, or a little harder? And all of a sudden we put that into our mental construct.
Yeah.
And then we become the hero in our own journey.
Wow. I love that. Hero in our own journey. That's a very powerful thing to say.
That's right.
Right. Well, man, so what, you've done all these amazing things. What does a day look like for you now? Like, and you seem like you'd be the guy that gets up early. It's got a morning routine. You probably read 6 books a day. I don't know. I mean, but what does a day look like for you?
Well, that's funny you should ask, but I do get up early. I enjoy getting up around 5:30 and starting the day fresh. And while my world is quiet, I love trying to write and trying to organize my thinking.
Okay.
I do a lot of public speaking and a lot of opportunities to try to inspire others and to rebuild my own inner strength and clarity of purpose and focus. And I see my mission in life, my purpose is to enable others to conquer their challenges and achieve their summits in life. And how can I effectively fill that stewardship? We also have a nonprofit called Summit Journeys, and Summit Journeys is a great opportunity for people to come and take on challenges. We take groups of youth and adults and CEOs out on different adventures, show them what they can achieve, and build teamwork and leadership, but also that inner emotional and mental fortitude that they can conquer their summit in life. Yeah.
Well, I love that you're doing that. And matter of fact, we're actually live today from Wasatch Recovery. And when we're done with this, you're going to put our clients through this exercise and these workshops today. And I'm so excited for them to kind of not only witness you and the things you've done, but what I'm most excited for them is to see that if this guy can do this, I can probably overcome, like you said, the Mount Everest that may be inside of me that no one knows about.
That's right.
Right?
I feel strongly that sometimes those invisible mountains are more significant and more difficult to climb than these external ones that are very visible, like Mount Everest. And so I often ask people, what's your Everest? And sometimes there are internal battles, whether it's overcoming porn or overcoming substance abuse or whatever it may be, but their ability to grow beyond their self-limiting behaviors or beliefs. And so often it is a belief system that actually ties them down. Absolutely. And then obviously there's other things, that contribute to that.
If someone was to sign up for one of your workshops or courses, what could they expect to walk away with?
Well, the first thing is our purpose isn't to just go have fun. You want to go have fun, that's entertainment.
That's entertainment,
and so our job is to create a challenging experience that's transformational and that's not going to push you beyond your limit where you all of a sudden get into that fight, flight, or freeze response, but that we're going to help you grow. We just took 22 young men to the Camp Williams to take on the leadership challenge course there. Okay. And we had them go through these stations where they had to team problem solve and they teach the military teams how to do that. Yeah. And it was fun to see them take on these challenges. If they weren't able to do it, they'd fall in the water or whatever it happened to be, and then they'd keep going. But we just did this last weekend. So those are the types of things. We have a ropes course. We have kayaking. We teach sailing. We love sailing because you learn that you can make that boat go any way you want it to go, regardless of which way the wind's blowing. Okay. And that's really the definition of resilience.
Wow. Love that. It's beautiful. So who are some of your heroes? Like, who do you look up to in your life?
So I was greatly, as I got ready to sail the seven seas, I really embraced the British explorers and read a lot of them. And guys like Amundsen and Shackleton and James Cook. These was a great age of discovery. And they set out with no gear, no Gore-Tex, no anything, right? And, James Cook was considered a great captain because when they got within 600 miles of Antarctica, they gave them shoes to wear.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a very different mindset and some cabbage to avoid scurvy,
Yeah.
But the opportunity to converse with those, at first be inspired by them, then to kind of converse with those great explorers, and then to try to become one, was quite inspirational to me as I started to build my own sense of self and maybe what I could undertake and in terms of a great journey.
Yeah, that's amazing. I ask this a lot with my guests, and it's kind of a different question, but I love to ask it. What do you love most about you?
About me?
Mm-hmm.
I love that I am an ordinary guy, just like everybody else, and that I was able to prove that I could do something hard.
Yeah.
And if I engage with people and we do a workshop or something, or I give a presentation and they think, wow, Martin is really cool, look what he did, I could never do that, then I failed. If, on the other hand, I can say, look, I was able to do this, and so can you, then we have a common starting point, and that's the whole point. I'm just another guy like everybody else, and I happen to focus in on a couple things, but it doesn't mean I had any magic skills or anything else. And that's the whole point about becoming the hero in our own journey, that we can all do that, and we can all have that sense of accomplishment and reward about who we become and what we can achieve.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you said that stood out to me today is when you were on Denali and you saw people who maybe been a little more skilled than you that were maybe just tapping out like this, they were stopping, and you were like, man, what's going on here? And it felt like as though you're like, hey, I'm a lot stronger than maybe I even thought I was.
That's right.
Right.
And that self-realization process and the growth as we embody that opportunity to be that better self or to become and reach that potential.
Yeah.
So many people struggle with anxiety because they realize they can't, or they don't feel like they can become that aspirational person that they would like to be. And I'm here to say, yes, no, you can.
Yeah.
And as we try to close that gap and make progress, there's some recipes, tried and true principles that you can apply. But there's also this discovery process that's really rewarding. And in spite of feeling anxious that you can't make progress, you can.
Wow. I love that. Beautifully said. If there's someone right now, Martin, listening to your voice who's struggling, they're in a dark place, they feel stuck. You've already shared some amazing advice, but what could you tell that one person right now who just he's hearing you right now and they're struggling? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say the first thing to do is to try to find some gratitude. Start with an appreciation for who you are and where you've come and the struggles that you have already found a way to overcome in life.
Okay.
And as we tie gratitude and hope together, gratitude is sort of hope in the past, right? And the gratefulness that it all played out.
Yeah.
And hope is sort of gratitude for the things yet to come and unfold. And so this hope that it will be better. And putting those two things together on a timeline in our head and then building on that gratitude gives us a sense of, okay, all is not lost, and I can find a way to keep my head above water. And once I do that, then I can find a way to get to a safe harbor and put 2 feet on solid ground.
Okay.
And once I get there, I can think about, how do I become the person I'd like to be? And then the summit journey where we're really feeling like we're making progress towards our goal in life.
Yeah, that's great. Beautifully said again. If there's someone that wants to reach out to you, if they want to know more about what you do, sign up for one of your courses, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I would say send me an email at martin@summitjourneys.org. Our website, if you want to come on an adventure, summitjourneys.org is a great way. And Josie will respond and help you coordinate whatever adventure your group or team would love to participate in, or you can just come as an individual. And then also, I have a website, 7summit7seas.org.
Okay.
And I'd love to partner with anybody and try to help them in any way I can, either an individual or an organization.
Wow, love that. And I'll put all of that information in the show notes so everyone can just link right to it, click to it. But, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with me. I know you're a very busy man, but it means a lot that you would actually come and sit with me to share, a portion. I know we only tapped into a little bit of it, but thank you for being willing to do this today. It really does mean a lot to me, and I know to my listeners, they're probably very thankful to be able to listen to some amazing advice from you.
Well, Todd, it's been my pleasure, and I really admire and appreciate what you're doing to reach out and sharing some of this with your audience. So thank you for letting me join you today.
Yeah. From the guy who figured out how to unstuck his shoe from the tree to climbing all 7 summits and selling all 7 seas. I mean, we can do anything if we put our minds to it. And Martin truly is the example of that to all of us. And whether you're going to go climb an actual mountain, or like he said so beautifully, if you have that mountain inside of you that you're trying to climb and get over, I'm here to tell you, I get emotional about this, but it's possible. You can get through this. And so please reach out to Martin. Seriously, he's a great guy. He will help you out in any way, like you said, whether it's an individual, if you have an organization or a company that you want them to grow together and to be more successful, have him come do the course for your organization. He's doing that today here at Wasatch Recovery. We're so grateful to have him here, and our residents have no clue what they're in for today, and I can't wait for them to go through this. So thank you for tuning in. Again, Martin, you're amazing. Thanks for all that you do and for being a light in this world for all of us to follow.
Thank you, Todd.
You betcha. Till next time, everyone. Love you guys.